Ayaw lang nila sabihin, ako na lang magsasabi. Di nila kaya na overwhelm, Mr. Chair. Parami ng parami yung kanilang mga raid dahil parami ng parami yung mga nag-engage ng illegal activities, ng illicit trade. Dahil yung illicit trade, parami ng parami dahil palaki ng palaki ang opportunity nila.
I just want to comment to what the representative of the AER said, because there was a quote that there's a tax reduction. Let me be clear, there's no tax reduction. A moratorium is not a reduction, and it's very different. For me, there's one comment, and I addressed it with the PACs here. 40, 50.
Pataas ang buwis. Di palaki ng palaki ang kanilang potential. Tayo naman, Mr. Senator, kabisado naman tayo sa bumababa sa barangay at usapang kalye. Kaya, marunong lang tayo manamit, pero kaya natin mag-usapang kalye.
So what seems to be the problem if enforcement is being intensified, as you've seen earlier in the presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're asking the right questions. The answer to your question is twofold. Number one, before I say it, we do commend the BIR and the BOC. You have to look at it also, they're getting overwhelmed dahil parami ng parami. Hindi nila kaya. Ayaw lang nila sabihin, ako na lang magsasabi. Hindi nila kaya na overwhelm, Mr. Chair. Parami ng parami yung kanilang mga raid dahil parami ng parami yung mga nag-engage ng illegal activities, ng illicit trade. Dahil yung illicit trade, parami ng parami dahil palaki ng palaki ang opportunity nila. Bakit palaki ng palaki ang opportunity nila? Pataas ang buwis. Pataas ang buwis, di palaki ng palaki ang kanilang potential. That's basic economic 101 yan, Mr. Chair. You stand to gain more. The tax evader stands to gain more as taxes increase. And if you have created this super highway of, I'll speak in the vernacular, para tayo naman, Mr. Senator, kabisado naman tayo sa bumababa sa barangay at usapang kalye. Kaya, marunong lang tayo manamit, pero kaya natin mag-usapang kalye. Ganito na lang, usapang kalye. Wala naman natatamaan dito sa illegal na sigarilyo, gobyerno lang. Benta mo, hindi naman to drugs eh. Hindi naman to bala eh. Usapang kalye, ang katotohanan. Palaki ng palaki ang buwis. 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. Kung nakagawa ka na ng superhighway, hawak mo na isang probinsya, hawak mo na isang isla, di mo na kailangan magbenta. Marami akong nakitang natatawa dahil naintindihan nila ako. Hawak mo na lahat yan. Kaya mo na bilhin ng buong local government. Mr. Chair, the suggested moratorium worked for Malaysia. Malaysia did 9 years. It worked. And Malaysia was overrun by 40% illicit. Mindanao is 51. Singapore, mayaman niya, malakas yung kanilang enforcement. Worked for them also, 2003 to 2021. Mas matagal pa. But Malaysia is a more interesting study because Malaysia did it for 9 years and was able to arrest not only the illicit trade but also increase government revenue. And Mr. Chair, it's balanced. No one in this room is disagreeing that it has to be a balanced approach. Government revenue, government programs, a willing government taxpayer, a willing legitimate business asking for the illegitimate businesses to stop so that we can continue predictable controls. And that's really it, Mr. Chair. The bottom line answer is taxes will increase, as taxes increase, opportunities for illicit trade increase across any commodity. Red onions, carrots, whatever. Same goes with tobacco. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any comments, Mr. De Best or Mr. Silva, Mr. D, on the topic?
Yeah, I can jump in. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr.
Go ahead, sir.
I mean, I fully concur with what has been said before. I just want to comment to what the representative of the AER said, because there was a quote that there's a tax reduction. Let me be clear, there's no tax reduction. A moratorium is not a reduction, and it's very different. For me, there's one comment, and I addressed it with the PACs here. 40, 50, 140. So the problem is every year when there's a tax increase, we as an industry are somewhat forced to pass it on to the consumers. So this price gap of 90 to 100 will expand, which to the point will open up the gap, open up illicit, and the problem gets bigger and bigger. And that's the only thing what we are aiming for, let's say, that we can stop that and have a joint effort in addressing the government revenues, protecting the farmers and helping the legitimate industry. So that's what I can add to what has been said before.
Well, I'll show a slide, no, because we also took a look at the pricing. Can you flash that? Well, the disparity is quite big. No? Illicit cigarette is about 45 per pack. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the licit cigarettes about 60 per pack. 160 per pack. So that's almost more than 3 times, no, the amounts. So if you are conducting illicit trade, the incentives are quite big, because it's 3 times the cost of, probably more than 3 times, because the 45 is not the cost of production. So it's more than 3 times. And of course, rationally, as the excise tax goes up, the legitimate prices also goes up. No? So based on my own personal analysis, the incentives to conduct illicit trade is quite big, because you earn 3 to 4 times as much. No? And dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi ni Congressman Nograles, meron pa tayong sabihin kung wala namang mamamatay, di ba? Tuloy-tuloy lang, no? That's a local saying, no? So with this, let me direct my question to the PNP, the enforcers. No? My question is, who is doing this illicit trade? Meron ba tayong information? Sabi nga ni Mr. Ransa, yung mga mayayaman lang gumagawa, may puhunan lang gumagawa niyan. So who's based on anyone, BOC or BIR, but I'll direct this first to PNP, being the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Do you have any information who is doing this illicit trade, and where is this coming from? Attorney Tan Chow mentioned that there are also local manufacturers, or when you say illicit trade, it's not only smuggled, but there are also illegal manufacturers. No, so based on your intelligence, information from the PNP, who is doing this illicit trade? Meron ba tayong information dyan?
Good morning, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. As to the part of the PNP, Your Honor, all our operations on this particular laws were conducted in coordination with the national agency and national agencies, Your Honor, which are directly for this particular laws, Your Honor. Our list of persons who are in illicit trade or doing illicit crimes were all those who were captured or arrested during the raid or law enforcement operations, Your Honor, but not we have no particular names of companies or any organizations doing the illicit, Your Honor. I think the concerned national agency, maybe Your Honor, has, because sometimes our role in this particular laws are purely in support, Your Honor, particularly through intelligence, counterintelligence, and law enforcement operations and information disseminations, Your Honor.
We have, I want to call on NBI also. I think NBI is here. Both NBI and PNP, but do you have any information who is doing this? I'll show another, I'll go back to the slide earlier, slide 4. In 2023, 11 billion sticks were smuggled or came from illicit trade. No, so this is not small amount. Hindi ito yung pinapasok sa airport pag bumibil, diba? Pag nag-abroad, punta ka ng duty free, pwede kang bumili ng sigarilyo. Hindi ito yung pinapasok sa maleta lang. These are containers. Most likely containers coming in, most likely mass production being conducted. So there is some form of organization and capital that comes into play with illicit trade, because 11 billion sticks is no small amount. No, so based on your information from the PNP and from the NBI, who are the people behind this illicit trade? Or maybe BIR or BOC can also join if you have any information. Hindi ito yung, alam mo, pag mag-abroad tayo, may nakita kang sigarilyo, bibili mo, lagay mo sa maleta mo, hindi to pa isa-isang kaha eh. No? Container ito yung pumapasok eh. So do we have any information on how, who are the people behind this? How is it being smuggled? Meron ba kayo information, PNP? Or NBI? Any of the enforcement agencies?
To the chair, sir. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Colonel Balones from the Directorate for Operations, National Headquarters, Philippine National Police. Our operations concentrates on the streets, on the last line or the distribution. That's why the suspects arrested were those small time. And some interdiction on the streets from vehicles may be apprehended. But those are, again, just people. As a matter of fact, since our GPNP created the Special Task Force Plutus, we have that, sir, in response to government, in our support for the government to curb smuggling. STF Plutus was initiated or started in July 19, 2024. Now, the task force has already accomplished 2.4 billion of all the, if I may say, more than 800 operations conducted since then, since July 19, 2024 to December 31, 2024. We have already confiscated worth of smuggled goods around 2.4 billion and apprehended 700 suspects. But again, Your Honor, these suspects are not mastermind. They are the ones peddling these illicit cigarettes. Because their entry is not, again, I will support our industry president here, Mr. Aranza, that the entry is through customs. We have no access to that. So the jurisdiction is a problem for the law enforcement. But we support the latest law of RA 120/2020. We belong to the law enforcement group that we are willing to participate more in curbing this illicit trade of goods. And we will be needing, the law states that there should be a deputation. But the PNP is really willing to do its best to support our industry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Colonel, who is the mastermind, or who are the masterminds?
Again, sir, these are will be for the investigation to answer, because what we have apprehended are low peddlers, dealers that are not mastermind. They are just people of this illicit activity.
Are they connected to any organized group, any terrorist group? And I'll show a slide. We just came across this article that it came out in the past investigations that cigarette smuggling is connected to private army groups, to the Abu Sayyaf, to basically terrorism. No? So, in other words, indirectly, by not curbing illicit trade, indirectly, or maybe directly for this matter, we're funding these terrorist groups who is wreaking havoc in our southern borders. So, ito, nakita ko lang sa Manila Bulletin and Inquirer. No, I think this is based on investigations by our enforcement agencies. So, in other words, there is some form of connection between this illicit cigarette traders and also terrorist groups, namely Abu Sayyaf. No? And if we don't curb illicit trade, then we're funding their criminal activities and terrorism activities in our in the southern part of the Philippines. Meron ba kayong ganitong mga na-detect in your investigation?
To the chair, sir, Your Honor, this matter does not fall under my jurisdiction, and I cannot even state facts as to this matter. Maybe through the because of the sensitivity of the matter, we will refer your question to the right office of the Philippine National Police,
Yeah.
which is the Directorate for Intelligence.
So it's not only reversing our gains in terms of smoking prevalence, it's also funding terrorism in the Philippines. No? In other words, this is what we are detecting. Yes, Congressman Jericho, Congressman Nograles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to react quickly on the question of the Honorable Chairperson. As a former legislator and the author of the Anti-Terror Act of 2020, in my research for the Anti-Terror Act, yes, terrorism and smuggling go hand in hand, regardless of what kind of smuggling. In fact, it was revealed to me by our intelligence services in the course of the research that not only cigarette smuggling was also routes in southern Mindanao were also utilized for the smuggling of bombs and bomb paraphernalia. Also human smuggling, Mr. Chair. So the cigarette smuggling routes are the routes that would pave the way for other kinds of smuggling: drugs, guns, bombs, terrorist teachers, bomb making teachers, both Indonesia and other. So I will be the one to confirm based on the research from the previous Congress. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And let me direct this to Congressman Nograles and to the private sector, especially the tobacco industry. Same question. Who is behind this illicit trade? Who are, aside from the terrorist groups, as obviously that came out in the news report, are there also non-terrorist groups? For example, mga kapitalista or mga, plain and simple mga sindikato who's funding and bringing all of this illicit cigarettes. Based on your information and based on your intelligence, I'm sure you have intelligence on the ground. No? Mr. D, go ahead. Yeah, I think.
Well, sir, I can attest to the criminal aspect because, sir, during 2012, during the discussion of the syntax law, we were actually in contact with a reporter from Net25. I'm not sure if the station is still around, but we were supposed to do a story about exactly this, smuggling and illicit trade in Mindanao. And then our sales agent was supposed to come in. I won't name him, obviously, for safety reasons. He was supposed to come in and give his testimony on the story. Pagbalik niya sa baryo niya, hinahanap na siya. So, yes, sir, there is an organized body behind this. At the time, of course, they're criminals, sir. Very well armed criminals, I will say that, sir.
Like I said, no, you cannot be a simple smuggler if you smuggle 11 billion sticks. How many cases is that? 11 billion sticks? More or less. More or less. Definitely containers, diba? Oh.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can
go
I
ahead.
say something? Probably Philip Morris Group can tell us the colonel who made the report, because when the colonel was making a report that they have come across lahat ng mga camp ng rebels sa Rene nila for cigarette, yung illegal cigarette, I was with the Philip Morris Group when the colonel was reporting through video. Baka matandaan yung pangalan ng colonel. That was in nasa Pampanga tayo, di ba? Anyway, but my point, asking naman yung the head, the core group. Mr. Chair, I was the one who identified in the Senate hearing the biggest rice smuggler during the time of the presidency of Manong Johnny. I identified him because hinit namin sila sa TV, sa program, and then he filed a case of libel against me. In the libel case, he said that I'm sure Mr. Aranza was the one who was referring to me because I am the person by the name of, I only mentioned it, David Sumbangayan, also known as David Dan. On that basis, that was the complaint filed against me. Na-dismiss yung, but I was able to give that to the previous Secretary of Justice, si Laila de Lima, and doon na-identify. Pero ang tanong ko, during that hearing, kinuha siya ng FBI eh. Badili kasi ayun tumayo na nung ma-identify na. But from that time on, walang kaso ho. Nung naupo ng bagong presidente, wala rin akong nakitang kaso. So I inquired, ba't walang kaso yun? Hanggang ngayon hindi ko alam, but I think he is still in circulation. No? So baka ho, makita natin kung paano ito nag-i-exist. Baka matitrace natin kung ano ang system na ginagawa. Because the case was filed, pero walang nag-asikaso sa kaso. I checked with the Pasig Court. Walang nagpupursu ng case. I took that risk in identifying him. Until now, when I say his name, kasi noted yan, but wala akong magagawa. We have to do it.
What I'm trying to establish, Mr. Aranza and everyone, is the side effects of illicit trade, meaning the other effects of illicit trade, that the monies being earned from illicit trade goes to terrorism, goes to criminal syndicates. That's the one I'm trying to establish. So it's not only creating economic damage, but also peace and order issue. It becomes a peace and order issue. No, so that's what I'm trying to establish.
Siguro, Mr. Chair, yung binanggit ko nga na it was a report during may report sa amin na sinabi nung colonel na nakikita nila sa mga kampo pag nagre-raid sila, may mga cigarette. Sabi ko nga, magaan yun eh. Mahal na, magaan pa, madaling i-transport. Yun ang sagot ko sa kanya. But I know, yung raiding team, composite group na nagre-raid, yung sa Sa Mindanao yun eh. Yeah. Do you recall, Juan? Anyway,
Thank you, Mr. Ranza.